Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be here to debate Ethiopian interests in front of the international community.
Thank you, Abiy, to debate in front of you in behalf of my country, the free and independent with its seaports, Eritrea.
I am here today to stress the need and wants of Ethiopian to have a sovereign port access.
There is one problem with that uninformed statement. Where are you going to get your sovereign port access?
Before the TPLF handed it over in 1993, it used to be ours.
Here is a history lesson for you. You officially lost access to our ports in 1991 and not 1993, as you alluded to.
Why 1993 was the year we put the final nail on unionization coffin through referendum.
There are no documents showing Ethiopia agreeing to the cessation of Eritrea, but mainly the Assab port.
You are truly a buffoon. How can you have documents for something that was never yours to begin with?
Ethiopian cabinet or parliament should have signed off and the Ethiopian people participate on the referendum to separate Eritrea in 1990.
It's unfortunate I am standing here debating you. First, the referendum, which was witnessed by you and African Union, was held in 1993. Why do you think Ethiopians should participate on Eritrea's referendum or have the right to sign anything?
No. It was the process for my friends.
Here is a lesson for you. Once the colonizers get defeated militarily, they lose any say on the countries they colonize. The same applies to Ethiopia.
I want to start today's debate. I am 1,000,000% sure Ethiopia will have sovereign sea access, whether our neighbor likes it or not.
I can unequivocally reaffirm that the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Eritrea are non-negotiable. Even though I don't usually respond to his delusional statements, I will respond to his idiotic statements out of respect to this debate. Shoot. Red Sea coastlines, including the ports of Massawa and Assab, is an integral part of Eritrea's sovereign territory. Eritrea's independence is recognized internationally under international, including UN Security Council Resolution 751 and the Algiers Agreement. May I ask this illiterate buffoon of his statement who I'm getting sovereign sea access without details on how, where, and when? Can you enlighten me on that?
We will ask our neighbors peacefully through exchanges of assets from Ethiopia. If not, we will resort to any means necessary.
My country is your neighbor and there is nothing we need from you. What now?
Are you declaring war now against all of your neighbors, including Eritrea, if you do not get your way in front of the international audience?
He is killing me.
We stand ready for constructive engagement to work with Ethiopia to get legal trade sea access. We are ready to work with Ethiopia to sign a commercial lease agreement, as we have said plenty of times before in meetings and negotiations, if he is ready for it. In any other ways, we will defend our territorial integrity by all necessary means, including removing this clown from power. Any assertion of sovereign access implying territorial control, militarization on Eritrean jurisdiction, crosses a red line. We urge the international community, including the African Union and the United Nations, to look at this colonial mentality before it is too late.
Thank you again for being invited to the third debate. I would like to start with this. My friend Isu likes to use strong words to intimidate me. But Ethiopia has over 130 million people and adding more than 3% a year, the size of Eritrea.
Thank you for the third debate. Let me start with this. Those who never learn from history's mistakes are doomed to repeat them. The population imbalance he mentioned was also true during our struggle to free Eritrea from Ethiopian colonialism, and it didn't stop us then. It even went 1 to 50 in the last 7 campaigns to completely destroy and defeat us, but we still stood victorious. Back then, Ethiopia had every advantage: foreign-trained massive army, modern weapons, fighter jets, and helicopters. But Eritrea had no one except its heroic sons and daughters, an unbending population and determination that made the difference. By the way, Meles also thought numbers and weapons as well as support from powerful nations would make the difference, but we stopped him cold as well. Before you flex your population-size muscles at me or brag about your modern weaponry, learn your history. Maybe you will think twice.
I am not Mengistu or Meles. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know you aren't. You are the worst to lead Ethiopia.
With all their shortcomings and evil plan against Eritrea, they kept Ethiopia as one nation. They didn't have Oromia agenda. Take a good mental note on the 7th grade brain of yours. You will not take an inch of Eritrean territory under my watch. We have been focusing on self-reliance by investing on building dams, agriculture, mining, and protecting our sovereignty. In the near future, we will form partnerships by creating fair and transparent investment opportunities in Eritrea. Investment opportunities in Eritrea will be prioritized to the local and to the diaspora Eritreans. We have a bright future ahead. Let me say a few words about Ethiopia's economy under his leadership using one word: disastrous. Even that might be too generous. When he came to power, I genuinely hoped we could build peace and prosperity together, but it did not take too long before his true color came out. They say a pig will always be a pig, even with lipstick on, and he's proving it true. He is just like his predecessors. Imagine thinking stacking debt-funded towers makes you an economic genius. How tragic. This uninformed man believes that constructing skyscrapers with borrowed funds qualifies as an economic miracle. How unfortunate. Ethiopia's economy under this illiterate leader stands like a castle built on sand. Impressive at a glance, yet destined to crumble. Under his watch, Ethiopia is drowning in inflation and high cost of living, poverty, foreign currency shortages, debt he can't pay, misplaced priorities, weak business environment, governance issues, corruption and bribery, public capital flights, to mention a few. Not sure how much he thinks he can gain by using Eritrea as a scapegoat, but that won't fix his failures or fool his people. I have admitted Eritrea's economy isn't where we want it to be, but what economic superiority are you flexing at me? What exactly are you flexing? Sinking beer, soaring inflation, or borrowed billions you can't pay back? If that's success, I'll pass politely, thanks. Yes, Eritrea's economy isn't perfect, I can admit that, but we are working tirelessly to make it better for our citizens. Stirring up the Assab drama and pay propagandists won't heal your fractured nation or rescue your broken economy. Do us all a favor. Stop living in fantasyland. Abandon your claims on Eritrean soil and fix your own house. He tried to downplay our population size compared to Eritrea's, but it also has vast natural resources. Ethiopia stands as the third largest economy in Africa, a testament to our nation's resilience and potential.
However, Eritrea faces significant economic decline over the last 3 decades after independence.
Eritrea would benefit greatly from the return of the port of Assab, if not the entire country, to its rightful mother, Ethiopia.
I was under the impression this was an economic debate, but clearly he prefers motherhood jokes to real numbers. You have to be the most childish leader I have ever encountered who say nonsense without any thoughts. I'll try to be brief, but I have to respond to his country's motherhood shenanigans by saying this. Eritrea is not for sale, nor for recolonization. Ethiopia was never the mother of Eritrea and will never be, period. My people have suffered for over 100 years of colonialism under many countries, one of them being Ethiopia. You have the audacity to tell the Eritrean people to relinquish their independence to join the country you can't even hold together. You can say with absolute confidence, I speak for majority Eritrean at home and abroad when I say this. We would rather leap into our Red Sea and drown than betray the memory of our martyrs by giving any piece of our country. Going back to the topic, I know Eritrea's economy is not where it needs to be, as I have said many times on ERA TV. For our economy, we have been focusing on self-reliance by investing on building dams, agriculture, mining, and protecting our sovereignty. At the beginning, every HOA country offered you an olive branch. You burned them all, convinced you were the smartest man in the region. By all means, keep isolating Ethiopia and turning it into a joke on the world stage. Bravo, truly. Out of sheer desperation and ignorance, you've begun aligning yourself with the wolves of this region. Only a desperate and clueless leader aligns himself with the wolves of the region, and here you are, proving that point perfectly. You know what happens when the hunt doesn't succeed, like your Assab fantasy? The wolves don't go home. They make you lunch. Just don't start crying foul when Eritrea and Egypt outmaneuver you and eat your lunch. I am out. See ya on the next debate.
Ethiopia views Egypt as a country that has consistently opposed Ethiopia's development, especially the GERD. The president of Eritrea's recent visit to Egypt is something that does not sit well with us Ethiopians. Here is why. Any military or political cooperation between the two countries is seen as potential leverage that could be used against us. Egypt is building alliances with countries surrounding Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, Eritrea, Somalia to apply pressure. Any Eritrea-Egypt partnership is a part of the encirclement strategy, and that can't be tolerated.
Is it me, or is this guy spiraling into madness? His jokes used to be annoying, now they're just boring. Let me begin here. Eritrea's strategic alliances are absolutely none of your damn business. Eritrea is a fully independent state recognized by the UN and the international community, as I have told him many times before. No country, especially Ethiopia, has the authority to dictate Eritrea's foreign relations. Strategic partnerships are a normal part of diplomacy, not a crime or a provocation. Have you asked yourself why Eritrea and Egypt consistently outsmarts you, outmaneuvers you, and embarrasses you diplomatically daily? My suspicion is that it's because you're a political rookie with an inflated self-image who can't seem to see past his shadows. The entire Horn of Africa, particularly Eritrea, embraced you and stood ready to cooperate when you rose to power. You tried to outmaneuver legends, and look at you now, clutching air and sobbing into empty diplomatic bags.